A monstrous claw shatters the very fabric of reality. The year is 2035, the beginning of an era known as the Descent of the Gods. A dimensional channel rips open, bridging the gap between Earth and the divine realm. Long-forgotten gods and demons descend upon the mortal world once more. They arrive not as saviors, but as conquerors brimming with malice. 7 years later, Country J is reduced to a smoldering ruin. After 11 years, Country H suffers the same devastating fate. By the 15th year, even the legendary Steel Great Wall of Dacia is broken. Humanity's last hope, an elite unit known as the Godslayers, makes its stand. But against these divine invaders, the entire army was utterly annihilated. But the annihilation of humanity's army was not the end of the fight. A divine being is smashed into the desolate earth with overwhelming force. The battlefield is littered with the fallen forms of these celestial invaders. A lone, battered warrior stands as the last line of defense, his resolve unbroken. With glowing eyes and a snarl of pure defiance, he readies himself for one final charge. He makes a solemn vow to protect his homeland, even if it costs him everything. An endless swarm of monstrous gods descends upon the solitary hero. He roars a challenge, forbidding any enemy from setting foot in Dacia. Leaping into the fray, he becomes a whirlwind of steel against an impossible tide. A young man with the same golden eyes jolts awake, the brutal war just a vivid memory. He awakens in a dark room, the nightmare of the battlefield still clinging to him. On his desk, a photo captures a happier time with a loved one, a memory of peace. He sits up, utterly bewildered to find himself not among the fallen, but in his old room. An alarm clock on his phone displays a date from long before the world ended. He grabs the phone, his face a mask of disbelief as he processes the impossible. A wild, unbelievable theory begins to form in his mind. He leaps from his bed, driven by a desperate need to confirm his suspicions. With a trembling hand, he pulls back the curtains to face reality. The view from his window is not of a war-torn wasteland, but a quiet, modern city. He stares out at the peaceful blue sky, a sight he thought was lost forever. He grasps the unbelievable truth. He's been sent back before the invasion ever began. Suddenly, a mysterious system interface named Nine Heavens activates within his mind. As the system finishes loading, his reality begins to warp and distort around him. He finds himself transported to a strange, dark realm bound by colossal chains. The bleak space gives way to a breathtaking view of a celestial sky filled with cranes. His gaze is drawn to a monumental, ruined structure, the legendary Southern Heavenly Gate. He stands in awe and confusion, realizing he's somehow entered the fabled Heavenly Palace. The once glorious palace is now a desolate wasteland, and he is the only soul in sight. He recalls how during the apocalypse, only Western gods descended to torment humanity. A horrifying realization dawns as he sees the petrified remains of the Eastern gods, understanding why they never came. He stares up at the colossal statues, realizing he's stumbled upon the grim secret of the Eastern gods. Suddenly, a petrified god's eye flares to life, blasting him with a beam of ancient energy. The raw power slams into him, engulfing him in a crimson torrent of forgotten knowledge. An overwhelming flood of information rushes into his mind, causing him immense pain. He clutches his head, feeling the sheer volume of data threatening to tear his consciousness apart. As he collapses in agony, the Nine Heavens system initiates an owner recognition program. The system begins a complete reconstruction of his body, wrapping him in a cocoon of light. His physical attributes are forcibly reconfigured in a brutal and agonizing enhancement process. The transformation completes, and he emerges from the light, reborn and overflowing with power. Landing softly, he examines his new form, his eyes now glowing with a strange, dual-colored light. He lets out a sharp, predatory grin, feeling the raw energy thrumming through his veins. He now understands his rebirth is thanks to the Nine Heavens system, and his body is overflowing with immense strength. The system is composed of 9 levels, each a gateway to the ancient powers of the gods. By successfully entering the corresponding heavenly palace on each level, he can claim its sealed power. But to unlock these palaces, he must first hunt down and slay more divine beings, harvesting their essence. Though the system's full mechanics are still a mystery, he knows it's his key to preparing for the coming war. With a look of fierce determination, he swears that this time he will protect everyone and everything he holds dear. His intense resolve is interrupted by a small voice as a young girl with bunny ears peeks into his room. She stands in the doorway, asking her brother what they should have for breakfast, a simple question from a world he fought to save. The sleepy girl is identified as Ying Baobao, his younger sister, the very reason he fought so desperately in his past life. He stares in utter shock, the sight of his living sister triggering a flood of painful memories. A traumatic flashback reveals her blood-stained clothes from the day the world fell apart. The memory sharpens, showing a monstrous god holding her captive in the ruins of their city. He remembers her final, selfless plea for him to save himself and run. But in that moment, he had roared back, refusing to abandon her to such a cruel fate. The memory culminates in a scream of pure agony as he held her lifeless body in his arms. He recalls his past failure, a vow echoing through time to change their destiny. Overwhelmed, he pulls his sister into a fierce hug, promising her absolute safety in this new life. She looks on, bewildered by her brother's sudden and intense display of emotion. He reassures her it's nothing, hiding his grim determination to rewrite their tragic history. His sister, seeing his distress, tells him she understands his strange behavior. She even suggests they skip school for the day, showing her deep concern for him. Meanwhile, at the Central Military Region Command, a critical event is about to unfold. An officer urgently informs his commander of an incoming call on a highly secure line. The commander is stunned to learn the call isn't from the government, but a private number. As his sister heads off to school, the protagonist makes a call that will change the future. Supreme Commander Chang Huchen answers, demanding the unknown caller identify himself. The young warrior calmly acknowledges that the general doesn't know him yet. He confidently states that the information he holds is vital enough to demand a meeting. Shortly after, a full military escort is dispatched, showing his bold claim was taken seriously. A well-dressed man, flanked by soldiers, presents official clearance for their sudden visit. From a nearby balcony, the scale of the operation becomes clear as military trucks block the entire street. The sudden military presence sends a wave of shock and confusion through the residential neighborhood. The mysterious official and his armed escort move with purpose, fueling speculation among the onlookers. A crowd of curious neighbors gathers, whispering about a potential high-profile arrest in their quiet community. To everyone's disbelief, the heavily armed unit bypasses the crowd and heads straight for the young warrior. The official confirms their target, addressing him as Ying Che and stating the Supreme Commander is waiting. With a look of grim purpose, Ying Che understands the urgency, knowing every second counts in his mission. As he's personally escorted to a private car, the crowd's suspicion turns to awe and admiration. The local girls are completely captivated, realizing the unassuming boy they knew is actually a hidden VIP. As the car speeds along the highway, his mind races with plans for underground cities and the Godslayer army. He knows time is short, but finds comfort in remembering he wasn't the only hero in the last war. With intense focus, he begins documenting crucial information from the future, listing the names of his future comrades. A military helicopter signals his arrival at the heavily fortified Central Military Region Command. Inside, an officer receives a briefing on Ying Che's background, noting he's a 17-year-old orphan with a sister. The Supreme Commander is baffled, questioning how an ordinary teenager could possess knowledge of their most classified nuclear strategies. His subordinate, Guard Wang Zifan, concludes that there must have been a catastrophic leak of military secrets. The commander, however, remains cautious, ordering a thorough investigation before making any assumptions. As his subordinate rushes off to comply, an elevator ascends, signaling the arrival of their mysterious guest. Ying Che waits patiently in a sun-drenched penthouse, calmly gazing at the city he's sworn to protect. The serene cityscape is marred by a haunting reflection of the fiery apocalypse he fights to prevent. He turns to face the man in charge, his gaze steady as he addresses Supreme Commander Chang. The general slaps down Ying Che's file, granting the mysterious teenager exactly 5 minutes to state his case. Unfazed, Ying Che claims his knowledge extends far beyond a phone number, encompassing the military's deepest secrets. He delivers a chilling prophecy of a world-ending crisis that no army on Earth will be able to withstand. The commander listens with a skeptical frown, his clasped hands the only sign of his deep contemplation. Ying Che reveals the unbelievable truth. Their enemies will be gods and demons invading reality to destroy humanity. Dismissing the story as nonsense, the general tells the boy to leave if he has nothing but fairy tales to offer. Ying Che raises a hand to stop him, countering the dismissal with a single staggering number, 5 billion. The commander's hardened expression cracks, replaced by a flicker of pure, unadulterated confusion. He explains that this number represents the 5 billion lives lost in the coming war, a tragedy that will unite the world far too late. The commander remains unconvinced, demanding a single solid reason to trust this unbelievable prophecy. To prove his foresight, Ying-che predicts a major fire in the city, offering a chance to save over 200 lives. Not stopping there, he pulls a folder from his bag, ready to offer even more concrete evidence. He presents the documents, promising they contain the location of an item that will prove the existence of gods. Later that night, under a crescent moon, the city remains blissfully unaware of the future he's trying to change. Ying-che finally returns home, groceries in hand, to find his sister waiting for him. She playfully complains about his late return, her hunger a simple problem in a world not yet torn by war. He apologizes for his busy day, slipping into a quiet domestic life he fought so hard to reclaim. As he prepares to cook, the surreal feeling of this peaceful reality washes over him, a stark contrast to his memories of loss. He knows he only has 2 months before the invasion, forcing him to make preparations to protect his sister. While stirring a pot of soup, he ponders the mysterious 9 heavens system, which has gone silent. He realizes he needs divine energy to power up, but without his future weapons, he's currently too weak to hunt gods. A new plan takes shape, leading him to a specific and mysterious location from his past. The next morning, under a bright sky, he sets his secret mission into motion. He finds his sister still sound asleep, mumbling about being too full to eat anymore. He gently places a note on her forehead, explaining his sudden departure and arranging for her care. His journey takes him to a restricted archaeological site, fenced off from the public. Undeterred by the warnings, he approaches a dark entrance sealed with caution tape. He stealthily slips under the tape, descending into the forbidden darkness below. A lone security guard is startled by a noise in the supposedly empty excavation site. The area is clearly marked as a protected zone, with development pending and access forbidden. Ignoring the warnings, Ying-che ventures deeper into the cavern, his phone's light cutting through the oppressive dark. His search ends as he discovers a pit filled with the glowing ancient remains of gods and demons. He recalls finding this sacred burial ground by pure chance during the chaos of his previous life. It was here, among these bones, that he first acquired the legendary martial godblade and began his fight. But as he reaches for the remains, a skeletal hand suddenly twitches with unnatural life. His internal system flares with a critical alert, detecting a surge of divine and demonic energy. Ying-che's eyes widen in shock, realizing he's not alone in this ancient tomb. A terrifying Jorogumo, a legendary spider demon, rises from the shadows to guard the sacred remains. The system identifies the monstrous guardian as an F-rank demoness, the Jorogumo. He's completely baffled, as this demon's appearance is a major deviation from his timeline. Without warning, the Jorogumo launches a lightning-fast attack with one of its sharp limbs. Relying on his battle-honed instincts, he narrowly evades the deadly strike. Thinking fast, he grabs the remains of a fallen god, using the sacred bones as a makeshift weapon. But the ancient bones shatter harmlessly against the demon's incredibly tough carapace. He recoils from the failed assault, realizing his improvised weapon was completely ineffective. Undeterred, he grabs a sturdier bone and brings it down with all his might. The attack barely scratches the creature's eye, forcing him to accept he needs the legendary martial godblade to win. Though the wound is minor, the Jorogumo unleashes a furious roar, enraged by his defiance. He glares at the demon, more worried about attracting security than fighting a monster. His fears are confirmed as 2 guards hear the noise and immediately call for backup. The action pauses for a split second, a hand held up as if to stop time itself. Miles away, Supreme Commander Chang looks up, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. Ying-che knows he must end this quickly, channeling all his focus to accelerate the fight. The Jorogumo unleashes a torrent of sticky webbing, spitting projectiles with deadly accuracy. He's caught off guard, tangled in the attack as he realizes this monster is a new, unforeseen threat. Breaking free, he dodges a volley of web bullets, using a divine bone as his only defense. To his horror, he sees the potent webbing dissolving the sacred bone, its corrosive power undeniable. His eyes widen with grim understanding. This unexpected foe is far more dangerous than he ever imagined. He braces for impact as the demon lunges, the corrosive webbing eating away at his makeshift shield. A powerful blow sends him hurtling backward, completely overwhelmed by the creature's force. He tumbles through the air, the cavern walls blurring around him as he struggles against the momentum. Landing hard on a pile of ancient skulls, he laments his current weakness, a shadow of his former self. The warrior feels the sting of humiliation, a mighty dragon reduced to fighting mere shrimp. But amidst the bones, a glint of hope appears as he spots the hilt of the legendary blade he seeks. The system confirms his discovery, the ownerless blade, a weapon leaking enough energy to corrupt life itself. As if sensing the blade's awakening, the Horogumo recoils in agony, letting out a silent shriek. A brilliant explosion of power erupts from the weapon, signaling a dramatic shift in the battle. Wielding his reclaimed power, Ying-che launches himself forward, a blur of motion ready to turn the tables. With the legendary blade in hand, he grins confidently, ready to show the demon his true power. He forces the weapon to submit, offering his own blood to forge a bond and claim it as his master. The ancient sword responds with a violent surge of crimson energy, accepting its new wielder. He's taken aback by the sheer intensity of the resonance, a power far greater than he remembered. His eyes glow as he feels the unfamiliar power coursing through him, a sign of a deeper connection to the blade. Suddenly, the cavern vanishes, and he finds himself transported to a strange, fiery dimension. He panics, frantically searching for the weapon that has mysteriously disappeared from his grasp. A mysterious voice echoes through the void, revealing that his arrival was expected. A colossal, shadowy figure emerges from the flames, introducing itself as the will of the martial god. Ying-che stares in disbelief, realizing he's face-to-face with the lingering spirit of the blade's original owner. The ancient will reveals its divine power is nearly gone, and his arrival was just in the nick of time. He realizes his earlier arrival in this timeline allowed the lingering divine energy to mutate the spider demon. The spirit offers him a lifetime of the martial god's knowledge, a profound understanding of the martial path itself. This immense power, a glowing orb of pure insight, is transferred directly into his mind. The spirit tasks him with mastering this knowledge to truly wield the blade and dominate the coming war. Back in the cavern, he takes a single step, his body now infused with the ancient god's power. Facing the demon, he smirks, knowing he's inherited not just a weapon, but an entire legacy. With a look of solemn respect, he silently promises the ancient spirit that its power is in good hands. The Jorogumo recoils in terror, overwhelmed by the sudden surge of divine pressure. His eyes gleam with deadly intent as he prepares to unleash his first technique as the martial god's successor. He unleashes a devastating golden arc of energy, completely dismantling the spider demon in a single fluid motion. The Nine Heavens system confirms the kill, rewarding his decisive victory with a single attribute point. A new tutorial explains that slaying these creatures will grant points to forge his body into that of a true martial god. He's presented with a choice: enhance his strength, agility, endurance, or spirit. The warrior quickly grasps the game-like mechanics, realizing every kill directly translates to more power. Without hesitation, he invests his first point into agility, prioritizing speed for future battles. The system immediately confirms the successful enhancement, a surge of new swiftness flowing through him. His first kill also grants him a portion of the demon's power, pushing his progress to unlock the first heavenly palace to 10%. Within his mind, the colossal chains binding the first heaven begin to strain and crack under the new influx of power. He learns that reaching 100% will not only grant him divine power, but also a place to rapidly accelerate his training. The system announces it's converting the leftover divine energy, using the demon's remains as a catalyst. His reward for the battle is a single, mysterious egg, presented with a burst of digital confetti. Just as he claims his prize, the beams of flashlights pierce the darkness, signaling the arrival of security. The guards discover the aftermath of the fight and frantically report the theft of the ancient bones. All that remains of the fearsome demon is a tiny spider, a ghostly wisp floating above its defeated form. With his new sword and mysterious egg in tow, Ying-che makes a swift escape from the cavern. He reflects on his wise decision to boost his agility, which was the only thing that saved him from being caught. As he flees, his curiosity is piqued, wondering what kind of creature could possibly hatch from such an unusual egg. Back home, his sister spots the massive egg and innocently asks if it's on the menu for dinner. Meanwhile, in the stormy East Sea, a high-tech submersible surfaces, its mission tied to the date Ying-che predicted. A salvage operation battles a fierce storm, hoisting a colossal skeleton from the churning depths. The team recovers a massive ancient skull, its sheer scale defying all known biology. On deck, an assistant urges the lead professor to take shelter from the raging tempest. The old scholar ignores the warning, completely captivated by the impossible discovery before him. As the giant skull is secured, the professor confirms the unbelievable truth of their find. Back at military headquarters, the ramifications of this discovery are about to be felt. An officer reports the skeleton's staggering dimensions and its composition of unknown super-hard materials. The Supreme Commander processes the information, realizing they've found the remains of an actual god. Just then, an aide rushes in, confirming Ying Che's second prophecy. A major fire has erupted in the city. The report concludes that thanks to the warning, the fire was controlled and all lives were saved, leaving the commander to ponder the impossible. An officer reports that the official explanation for the explosion at the archaeological site is a meteor strike. His subordinate is shocked by the news, but the Supreme Commander remains deeply skeptical of this convenient explanation. Back at the cavern, investigators sweep the area with flashlights, searching for any clues. They discover the grim scene of scattered bones and immediately realize the situation is far more serious than reported. All they find are the remnants of the battle: shattered bones, strange webbing, and the lingering essence of the defeated demon. As night falls, the consequences of Ying Che's actions begin to ripple across the country. A news report confirms Ying Che's fire prophecy, detailing how the blaze was contained with 0 casualties. Watching the report, Ying Che is relieved to see his intervention saved lives, proving the future isn't set in stone. His sister sleeps peacefully, dreaming of food while using the mysterious demonic egg as a pillow. He's taken aback by her complete lack of fear, finding her innocent slumber both amusing and precious. His quiet moment is interrupted by a vibrating phone, displaying an unknown number. He calmly answers the call, already knowing it's the Supreme Commander on the other end. The scene shifts to a military facility, where his prophecies are about to be verified. Inside a secure hangar, the colossal skull he led them to is displayed, bound in heavy chains. The commander stares at the impossible relic, questioning if this is truly the god Ying Che warned him about. Ying Che confidently identifies it as the skull of a 6-winged angel, presenting it as undeniable proof. A female officer marvels at his youth and accurate predictions, as he reminds the general of the billions of lives at stake. Faced with irrefutable evidence, the Supreme Commander is forced to contemplate the terrifying truth. His contemplation ends as he slams down the file, a photo of the skull sealing his resolve. He roars out an order, placing the entire military on high alert and preparing to escalate the news to the central government. The female officer voices her skepticism, finding the idea of a divine invasion completely unbelievable. But the commander is resolute, declaring he will take full responsibility for following the young man's advice. His decision is backed by the highest authority, Grand Marshal Jiang Zhenguo, who believes no precaution is too great for his people. The Grand Marshal makes a surprise appearance, immediately demanding the file from Ying Che to assess the threat himself. Ying Che looks the powerful man in the eye, confirming that the skull belongs to the enemy that will soon arrive. He paints a grim picture of the future, a world where humanity is enslaved before being completely wiped out in 15 years. Yet, he offers a glimmer of hope, explaining that these ancient remains are proof that their divine foes are not immortal. He reveals a stunning historical truth. This very angel was felled 5 millennia ago by the legendary archer Hu Yi. The Supreme Commander is floored by the revelation, forced to question if the ancient myths were historical records all along. Ying Che confirms their suspicions, explaining that most legends are born from humanity's past wars against the gods. He raises a finger, explaining there is one crucial exception to the history of gods. His story transports them to ancient times, showing a vision of a powerful golden deity. He describes a past where divine beings once walked the earth, shaping the world with their power. Long ago, the divine realm invaded, only to be fiercely repelled by the Eastern gods. The invading gods, he reveals, gain their strength by feeding on the faith of their worshippers. In stark contrast, the Eastern gods began as mortals who trained their bodies to the absolute limit. Through their legendary deeds, these mortals transcended their limits and ascended to godhood themselves. The Grand Marshal grasps the implication, asking if this means their own gods will return to fight again. The scene shifts back to a quiet night at home, where his sister dreams of breakfast, using the mysterious egg as a pillow. She continues to mumble in her sleep, her innocent dreams a stark contrast to the world-ending stakes of her brother's mission. He watches his sister with a fond expression, amused by her innocent sleep-talking. He reveals the grim truth that most Eastern gods fell in an ancient war, fading into myth. A haunting memory shows humanity's forces decimated, their hopes for divine aid unanswered. He explains that the Eastern gods never came, leaving humanity to face its doom alone. With no gods to rely on, he knows his only hope lies in the still-locked 9 heaven system. He stresses the need for immediate, decisive action, preparing every possible defense. Realizing they are on their own, he pulls out more documents, ready to lay out his master plan. The Grand Marshal, far from being afraid, seems thrilled by the prospect of battling gods. He unfurls an ancient map pinpointing the location of the next major threat. He delivers another chilling prophecy. The sea god Poseidon will descend in less than 2 months. He pinpoints the invasion's landing zones, predicting a war that will engulf the entire Pacific Ocean. The Grand Marshal calmly sips his drink, asking the young warrior for his proposed strategy. Yingche presents his solution, a plan for a massive defensive line to protect the people of Daxia. He reveals the name of his grand project, the legendary Steel Great Wall, holding up the blueprints. The scene briefly cuts to a peaceful beach, where a tiny crab scuttles along the shore. The warrior cringes at his own dramatic flair, but the marshal has already arranged his leave from school. As they walk along the coast, the commander reveals that construction on the wall has already begun. He silently blames his reincarnation for the grandiose phrases that keep slipping out of his mouth. His train of thought is broken by his sister's cheerful arrival, earning a compliment from the commander. The commander probes for his next move, and Yingche confirms that a strong defense is just the beginning. He insists they need special weapons and a unique force to fight the gods. The commander agrees to provide full support, but questions the nature of this resistance force. Yingche reveals it's the final legacy of the Eastern gods, destined to become humanity's ultimate weapon. Their strategic planning is cut short as a frantic officer sprints towards them with urgent news. His sister happily holds his hand, enjoying their day at the beach, oblivious to the impending crisis. He offers to take her home, privately suspecting she cleverly followed him to the secret meeting. The officer's panicked report snaps him back to reality, his protective instincts flaring. The commander grimly informs Yingche that his departure will have to be postponed. A colossal, fiery object plummets from the sky, heralding a new, unexpected threat. The mysterious projectile slams into a distant city, erupting in a devastating explosion. A hazmat team cautiously approaches the epicenter of the blast, wading through smoke and embers. They discover not a meteor, but a colossal, perfectly formed crater that has fractured the very Earth. The investigators are baffled, finding no trace of a celestial object, only the impossible impact zone. One of the team members freezes, his eyes widening in sheer terror at an unseen discovery. In a nearby military vehicle, a communications officer attempts to hail the team on the ground. He fine-tunes the frequency, trying to cut through the heavy static from the impact site. The operator calls out, his voice filled with growing unease as he waits for a response. Suddenly, a blood-curdling sound erupts from his headset, forcing him to cry out in panic about a monster. Meanwhile, Yingche arrives at the ruined city, the mysterious egg secured on his back. He surveys the familiar devastation, a grim reminder of the future he is desperately trying to prevent. He's met by a wary guard and his dog, but quickly assures them he's an ally. He flashes his credentials, introducing himself as a special agent assigned to the case. The guard eyes him with suspicion, unconvinced by the young man's sudden authority. Despite his doubts, the guard lifts the police tape, granting him access to the restricted zone. Yingche learns the grim news. The first expert team sent into the crater has completely disappeared. The guard hands over a report, confirming the area is now a no-go zone as Yingche inquires about the supposed meteorite. The truth is far more chilling. The team's last words were about a monster before they went silent. He confidently declares he's going in alone, brushing off the guard's offer to guide him. The guard can only watch him leave, baffled by the strange boy with an even stranger egg on his back. At the crater's edge, his senses confirm his suspicions. This wasn't a meteor, and something unnatural lingers in the air. He kneels down, picking up a strange, crystalline fragment from the scorched earth. Examining the rock, he's stunned by its unusual composition and the energy it emits. His system confirms the presence of divine demonic energy, just like in the cavern. He remembers how the true cause of this disaster was conveniently covered up in his past life. His investigation is cut short as the mysterious egg suddenly leaps from his backpack. He watches in utter disbelief as the sentient egg begins to flee on its own. A frantic chase ensues, with the warrior desperately trying to catch the bouncing egg. The bizarre pursuit leads them through the unsuspecting city streets. The runaway egg finally comes to a halt on a scenic coastal walkway. Out of breath, Yingche finally corners his prize, glaring at the mischievous egg. He pants in exhaustion, lamenting that even a simple egg can outrun him. With the runaway prize finally in hand, he firmly shoves it back into his bag. He secures the egg with straps, revealing the system warned him it was about to hatch. His attention is suddenly snapped away by an unexpected event in the distance. He turns to witness a massive explosion tearing through a traditional family compound. Within the inferno, panicked voices cry out as the chains holding something captive are destroyed. A powerful entity erupts from below in a column of fire, shattering its ancient bonds. A monstrous, fiery being breaks free, its raw power evident in the shattered restraints. A group of warriors gives chase, desperately trying to prevent the creature's escape. The system identifies the fleeing monster as an F+ level flame skeleton, a new and unexpected threat. The flame skeleton unleashes a volley of fiery projectiles at the pursuing warriors. A red-haired warrior skillfully deflects the attack, her movements swift and precise. Her comrade struggles to parry another blast as she calls out to him in concern. He shouts back, warning that their defenses won't hold against the intense heat for long. Taking command, she orders the weaker members to retreat while the rest hold the line until reinforcements arrive. Suddenly, the young man's eyes widen in terror as he spots another incoming threat. She turns just in time to see a massive fireball hurtling directly towards her, too close to dodge. But before the blast can connect, Ying-che appears, drawing his newly acquired martial god blade. He leaps into the air, positioning himself between the warrior and the attack, ready to intervene. With a single powerful slash, he unleashes a wave of energy that completely neutralizes the fiery assault. His blade slices through the fireball, splitting the deadly attack with absolute ease. He lands gracefully, positioning himself as a shield for the warrior he just saved. The red-haired woman stares in utter disbelief, stunned by his sudden and overwhelming power. He calmly instructs her to stay put, his gaze locked on the fiery monster ahead. Ignoring her desperate warnings, he leaps toward the flame skeleton to face it alone. The creature clutches its chest, gathering a massive amount of energy for its next assault. Its throat begins to glow intensely, signaling an imminent and devastating blast of fire. As the monster unleashes a torrent of flame, Ying-che dodges with impossible speed. He prepares to unleash a legendary technique, channeling immense power into his martial god blade. In a surprising twist, he uses the mysterious egg to absorb the attack, casually remarking on his success. The system chimes in, rewarding his effortless kill with a brand new attribute point. A new notification confirms the system is absorbing the divine demonic power from the defeated flame skeleton. He looks on in surprise, realizing the system is siphoning the creature's very essence. A mystical sigil appears beneath his feet as the raw energy of the monster is drawn towards him. To his shock, the energy flows not into him, but directly into the mysterious egg strapped to his chest. This influx of power pushes his progress to unlock the first heavenly palace to a solid 20%. He stands alone in the aftermath, the once raging battlefield now eerily calm and clear. The other warriors can only stare from a distance, their own battle abruptly ended by his intervention. One of the fighters breathes a sigh of relief, processing that they've been saved from certain doom. The red-haired leader is left speechless, wondering about the stranger who dispatched their foe in a single strike. He casually catches the mysterious egg as it falls back into his hand. With a cocky grin, he holds the egg aloft, silently demanding praise for his effortless victory. From the monster's remains, he retrieves a glowing golden core, the source of its immense power. The red-haired warrior frantically warns him of the core's danger, but he's already holding the volatile artifact. Later, the two sit down in a tranquil garden pavilion to discuss the recent events. She formally introduces herself as Li Xiaolu, the heir to a prestigious martial arts family. Ying-che's completely underwhelmed reaction leaves the proud warrior momentarily speechless. She's baffled that this powerful stranger has never heard of her legendary family, one of Daxia's most renowned clans. Setting her pride aside, she sincerely thanks him for saving her team and offers to repay the life-saving debt. She confidently lays out her terms for repayment before finally asking for her savior's name. He introduces himself as Ying-che and presses her for information on the glowing core, feigning simple curiosity. She scoffs at his interest, then immediately spills the secret about the dangerous magic crystal and its unknown energy. As he points out her blunder, she continues, revealing the crystal's power to cause dangerous mutations. The warrior confirms the flame skeleton was a direct result of the crystal's corrupting influence. Ying-che listens with a deadpan expression, waiting for her to reveal more. An awkward silence falls between them, the mysterious crystal glowing ominously at their feet. Li Xiaolu is struck by a wave of panic, realizing she's just revealed a clan secret to a complete stranger. His mind races, recalling the crystal was a failed national project, making him question how her family possesses such classified knowledge. She abruptly changes the subject, demanding to know why he's there, but he calmly points out she invited him. She rephrases her question, asking how he conveniently appeared just in time to save them, and he simply claims he was drawn by the fire. She presses him for his true identity, her frustration boiling over. He simply smiles, unfazed by her aggressive line of questioning. Yingche calmly presents his cover story as a special investigator assigned to the fire. The proud warrior is left flustered, struggling to respond to his official title. Their conversation is interrupted by the arrival of her cousin, who questions the unannounced visit. The man is revealed to be Li Yunfei, the patriarch of her clan, who demands she use his proper title. The patriarch takes control of the situation, admitting his family is responsible for the fire. He gently scolds his cousin for trying to hide the truth from an official investigator. Li Yunfei reveals the flame skeleton was once human, mutated by an ancient relic with the same energy as the crystal. Yingche connects the dots to the divine demonic energy and asks for more details about this mysterious relic. The patriarch reveals the relic is a forbidden secret, passed between ancient martial arts families for safekeeping. He warns that prolonged exposure to its energy causes mutation, a process that has recently and mysteriously sped up. Yingche's eyes flare with understanding, realizing the impending invasion is accelerating the relic's corrupting power. Li Yunfei explains their monthly rotation of guardians failed when an unprecedented event occurred on May 8th. Before the month was over, the caretaker was consumed by the relic's influence and transformed into a monster. This new creature was incredibly swift, managing to break free and escape into the night sky. It then unexpectedly plummeted from the heavens, its crash landing causing the catastrophic citywide fire. The patriarch admits his failure, explaining the monster almost escaped a second time while he prepared to destroy it. When Yingche requests to see the relic, he is firmly denied, as it's a secret too dangerous to share. But the patriarch turns the tables, suggesting Yingche already possesses a similar artifact of his own. The patriarch calmly reveals he knows Yingche's blade is another forbidden artifact. Yingche's intense gaze meets his, the secret of his weapon now exposed. He's inwardly stunned that someone in this timeline already knows about divine and demonic power. He quickly explains that his blade's energy is contained, unlike their relic, which is why they couldn't sense it. To deflect suspicion, he nervously passes off the legendary weapon as a simple family heirloom. Using his official cover, he confiscates the dangerous magic crystal for further investigation. The patriarch offers a chilling piece of advice, warning him not to suffer the same fate as the last guardian. As he departs, Yingche realizes these ancient families hold deeper secrets than he ever knew. The gates to the mysterious clan compound swing shut, closing off one mystery as another begins. Meanwhile, the patriarch pulls a hidden book from a shelf, his own investigation just getting started. He activates a hidden mechanism, sliding a bookshelf aside to reveal a secret chamber. As his cousin confirms Yingche's departure, the patriarch enters the hidden room with a thoughtful expression. Inside, he orders his clan to prepare for relocation, their mission now complete. He reaches for the ancient, glowing book, knowing their current base has been compromised. Later that night, under a crescent moon, Yingche quietly returns home to his sister. He finds her diary, which details her growing frustration with his secrecy and the theft of her precious egg. Looking at his sister, who fell asleep mid-complaint, he can't help but let out a weary sigh. He knows he can't always be there to protect her and resolves to find her a powerful weapon of her own. With a heavy heart, he gently strokes her hair, his resolve to keep her safe hardening. Even in her sleep, she seems to sense his turmoil, her peaceful expression twisting into a frown. In a strange dream, his sister finds herself before a mysterious floating grimoire. The ancient book glows with an ominous power, its secrets just out of reach. Back in reality, a late-night drama on TV poses a question about love and sacrifice. Yingche sits in the dark, stunned that the secret of the gods was already known in this timeline. He grips his sword, wondering what other dangerous knowledge these ancient families are hiding. The patriarch's knowing smile flashes in his mind, a reminder that his own weapon is a forbidden relic. His train of thought is broken as his sleepy sister wakes up, drawn in by the TV drama. He turns, surprised to see her awake, but she assures him the noise didn't bother her. Her sleepy demeanor vanishes, replaced by pure fury as she demands the return of her precious egg. He calmly presents the backpack, confirming the egg is safe while finding her obsession a bit strange. He panics, realizing the magic crystal he confiscated is mysteriously shrinking. His sister calls out to him, holding the now cracked egg with a worried expression. A strange, blob-like creature with a mischievous grin emerges from the broken shell. The warrior is left utterly baffled as his sister presents the newly hatched creature. 1 week later, construction of the massive steel Great Wall is well underway along the coast. A soldier reports a major milestone, confirming another colossal steel support has been secured. The Supreme Commander watches the progress, demanding his forces work even faster. Yingche now has a new companion, a picky creature that only eats the powerful magic crystals. An officer briefs the commander, confirming the Iron Wall project designed by Yingche is a success. The report concludes that at their current pace, the entire coastal defense will be complete in just 50 days. He cringes internally, regretting the overly dramatic name he gave his grand project. The officials gaze upon the colossal structure, an iron barrier spanning the entire sea border. The Supreme Commander marvels at the impossible speed of the construction, a feat he finds truly unbelievable. Despite receiving praise for his genius design, Yingche humbly deflects, crediting the builders and his past life's knowledge. He remembers the true heroes, the scholars who designed the wall in just 7 days during the original crisis. The warrior admits to himself he's merely a messenger from the future who accidentally renamed their masterpiece. He interrupts the praise, pointing out a critical flaw in their current understanding of the situation. A skeptical official named Han Sanjin highlights the impossible logistics, stating the steel required would take a decade to produce. The official argues for abandoning the coast and retreating inland, questioning the wisdom of fighting a sea god head-on. Enraged by the defeatist talk, the Supreme Commander delivers a swift and brutal blow to silence the dissenter. The official sputters in disbelief, insisting his cowardly suggestion was meant to help. The commander declares that surrender is not an option, threatening the official to get him out of his sight. Yingche casually intervenes, trying to cool the commander's fiery temper. An aide provides a timely interruption, announcing that the special team Yingche requested is ready. The commander holsters his weapon, warning the official that he's only getting one pass. With a final warning against defeatism, the commander turns his back on the disgraced official. The official angrily shoves away a subordinate who tries to help him up, his pride deeply wounded. As the group departs, the official learns the commander put immense effort into fulfilling Yingche's requests. Seething with resentment, he scoffs at their naive plan, convinced humanity cannot resist the power of a god. He secretly orders his aide to arrange a meeting with a group that claims to have a way to deal with the gods. The warrior pauses, sensing a complication with his plan. An exhausted officer reports that the Li family's compound was completely deserted. She explains the powerful clan is gone, leaving only a normal gym and a single piece of evidence. He takes the clan's crest, questioning how they could vanish without a trace. Realizing a deeper conspiracy is at play, the commander orders a full-scale investigation into their disappearance. The scene shifts to a secure hangar, where a projector displays footage of incredible combat prowess. This is the special team Yingche requested, a group of elite individuals watching a demonstration. A blue-haired woman greets them with a smirk, sarcastically noting their late arrival. Suddenly, a strange message flashes, breaking the fourth wall with a cryptic warning. The bizarre interruption continues, creating a moment of confusion for everyone present. The strange message concludes with the female officer crying tears of joy over a single reader's approval. Back in the story, the commander explains he's gathered 5 masters from ancient sects for Yingche to lead. Inside the hangar, one of the masters immediately challenges the young warrior to a duel. The challenger, a Taoist named Shudao, scoffs that Yingche is all for show and useless in a real fight. With a confident smirk, Yingche realizes he'll have to prove his worth through combat. He places his creature on the ground and boldly invites all 5 masters to attack him at once. The Mohist descendant, Mo Xiaoxiao, watches with a curious and calculating expression. Shangguan Wanzi of the Xinghe sect looks on with a confident and slightly mischievous grin. A solemn monk from the Buddhist sect, Wen Bei, observes the challenge with tears in his eyes. The final master, Momo of the Confucian sect, smiles serenely, intrigued by the bold young man. The monk and the Mohist lie defeated on the fractured ground, admitting the young warrior is far too strong. Standing over his fallen challengers, Yingche asks if they're finally ready to have a civilized conversation. Shangguan Wanzi confirms they were briefed but still struggle to believe his story about fighting gods. The Taoist master voices his skepticism, questioning what mortals could possibly do against a true divine being. He insists that with their current power, they would be nothing more than cannon fodder in such a war. Yingche counters with a smirk, stating they aren't even qualified for that role until they become much stronger. The humbled monk puts his hands together, admitting their weakness and asking for the young master's guidance. With their attention secured, Yingche claps his hands together, ready to reveal his true plan. As a forklift brings in a large covered object, he explains that the Eastern gods are gone but not forgotten. He dramatically unveils an ornate glowing chest, revealing the priceless legacy the ancient gods left behind. The monk stares in disbelief at the massive ancient cauldron before him. The driver admits it was a nightmare getting the museum to lend them the mysterious artifact. Yingche presents the colossal bronze vessel, the key to unlocking their true potential. The system identifies it as the legendary 9-turn universe cauldron, a relic of the fallen gods. He reaches out, his hand hovering over the ancient engravings as a divine light begins to glow. The cauldron levitates, unleashing a wave of energy as the system confirms it has recognized a new master. The forklift driver can only gape in awe, his mind blown by the impossible sight. With glowing eyes, Yingche explains that studying the cauldron will grant each of them a unique and powerful enlightenment. The Mohist master is the first to feel its influence, her eyes widening as she senses its profound energy. A single drop of insight ripples through her mind, signaling the start of her transformation. His eyes glow with divine light, fully attuned to the cauldron's ancient power. The masters sit in silent meditation, absorbing the profound knowledge radiating from the relic. Even the forklift driver is caught in the wave of enlightenment, much to Yingche's bewilderment. He breaks the fourth wall with a smirk, cheekily asking for donations to feed the power-hungry artifact. His creature adds to the plea, threatening to raid the pantries of ungenerous readers. With the meta-commentary over, he settles into a meditative stance to begin his own training. He closes his eyes, focusing his mind to receive the ancient wisdom of the gods. Suddenly, the Taoist master launches a surprise attack on his fellow Mohist, testing his newfound power. A manic grin spreads across his face as he feels an incredible surge of energy coursing through his body. But he quickly realizes that this raw, untamed strength will require more than just brute force to control. The Taoist master immediately tests his new skills, launching a powerful kick at his fellow warrior. Yingche's eyes snap open, his meditation broken by the sudden burst of chaotic energy. From a high vantage point, he watches the masters gleefully show off their newfound abilities. The Mohist demonstrates her power by shaping a shield, while the monk eagerly tests his enhanced durability. The monk unleashes a powerful wave of energy, sending debris flying as he taps into his new strength. Even the serene Confucian master can't hide his awe, marveling at the feeling of his own power growing. Yingche smirks at their enthusiasm, ready to take on their combined might to truly test their limits. The forklift driver explains to a now-awake Yingche that the masters have been sparring non-stop since their enlightenment. Amazed by his own power boost, the driver wonders if all museum relics have this power and plots a grand heist. Yingche gives a cryptic smile, hinting that the cauldron is a unique treasure among countless fakes. He recalls the cauldron's true purpose was only discovered during the God Wars in his previous life. The driver is left speechless, wondering if he's dreaming or witnessing the return of a god. With the masters in training, Yingche decides the powerful artifact is too valuable to return to the museum. He tasks the driver with supervising the training, promising to arrange a more advanced regimen with the commander. As the driver salutes, Yingche's mind turns to two other legendary artifacts that can boost their power. The first is the Myriad Chaos Orb, a volatile relic that only appears during times of great conflict. The second is the Yin-Yang Kunlun mirror, hidden in a realm so secret it was only found by accident in his past life. The scene shifts to a quiet apartment building, a peaceful night contrasting with the coming war. In a mysterious dreamscape, a hand reaches out to a glowing ancient grimoire. The dreamer is revealed to be his sister, floating through a strange, star-filled void. Her eyes glow as she wakes up, her mind overwhelmed with newfound knowledge from the dream. He catches her mid-fall, realizing she was sleepwalking on the furniture again. She wakes up confused, noticing the dream has vanished once more. The young girl recalls the recurring vision of a mysterious book that appears in her sleep. He playfully teases her about sleep studying before suggesting they finally have a meal. As they eat, a classic cartoon about the Monkey King plays on the television. His sister voices her concern, asking why he's been so busy and coming home late every night. He nonchalantly explains that the God Wars are about to start, leaving her completely bewildered. Their conversation is cut short by a breaking news report about an emergency UN meeting. The broadcast announces that the Dacia Kingdom is issuing a grave warning to the entire world. The Dacia representative delivers a chilling message to the world: an invasion by the gods is imminent. Meanwhile, Yingche recalls the cauldron's true gift, the legendary god-slaying technique. His mind drifts to the mundane sounds of the city, a stark contrast to the epic power he's cultivating. He begins his training focusing on the first stage of the technique, sensory enhancement. Surrounded by ancient power, he resolves to push his body to its absolute limit to defeat the coming divine threat. His intense meditation is shattered as his sister bursts in, her loud voice causing him immense pain. With blood trickling from his ears, he realizes his new power is still dangerously uncontrolled. Unaware of his agony, she pleads with him, holding up 2 theme park tickets with hopeful eyes. Unable to resist her charm, he reluctantly agrees to take a break from saving the world. She erupts with joy as he reaches for the tickets, ready for a day of fun. He winces as blood trickles from his ears, a painful side effect of his unstable new power. His sister notices his injury, her face filled with concern for her big brother. At the theme park, they're greeted by the Mohist master, Mo Xiaoxiao, who's been waiting for them. He adjusts his glasses, explaining he borrowed a disguise from the Supreme Commander for their mission. Now in a full dad disguise, he reveals the tickets require 2 parents and asks Mo Xiaoxiao to play the part. His system scans the park, revealing their trip is actually a mission to find individuals with high spiritual energy. The scan continues, showing most parkgoers have negligible power levels far below their target. From a distance, a mysterious figure in a frog costume watches the park through binoculars. 2 frog-suited agents report their failure to find anyone with a spiritual energy level of 10. The scan ironically reveals their own group is the target, with Yingche's power level hitting the exact number they're searching for. The frog-suited agent smirks, having finally locked onto his unsuspecting target. A strange sensation alerts Yingche that he's been marked as a suitable sacrifice for some unknown god. He brushes off Mo Xiaoxiao's concern, but his senses are screaming that he's being watched. Using the restroom as an excuse, he separates from the group to investigate the unseen threat. Inside, one of the frog-suited agents complains about the heat, waiting to ambush his target. As Yingche exits the stall, he finds his path blocked by a surprisingly large amphibian mascot. A quick scan confirms their target's spiritual energy is a perfect 10, making him the ideal candidate. The agent pulls out a taser, ready to subdue the young warrior with a jolt of electricity. Flanked by 2 costumed assailants, Yingche remains unfazed by their clumsy attempt at an ambush. He comically collapses to the floor, leaving the frog agents utterly bewildered by his sudden incapacitation. While waiting, his sister passes the time by drawing a crude portrait of him in the sand. Mo Xiaoxiao receives a message, while the young girl looks on with growing impatience. Suddenly, Mo Xiaoxiao's eyes flare with a crimson light, sensing that something is terribly wrong. Elsewhere, a group of cultists announces the arrival of their leader for a special performance. The mysterious leader impatiently demands the show begin, his time clearly valuable. A figure in a plague doctor mask gives the order to bring out the sacrifice for the ritual. The 2 frog agents wheel in their captive, completely unaware he's only pretending to be unconscious. Underneath the bag, Yingche recognizes the familiar voices of his captors. The agents force him onto a chair in the center of a stage, preparing him for the ceremony. A hand rises theatrically as the cult leader prepares to address his followers and begin the show. The masked cult leader dramatically announces the beginning of their divine descent show. He pricks his finger, drawing a single drop of blood to initiate the dark ceremony. The blood levitates and contorts into a strange sigil as he begins his incantation. From above, the ritual circle glows as tendrils of red energy connect the cultists to their sacrifice. These crimson tendrils wrap around Yingche, binding him at the center of the summoning. The leader raises his hands, chanting a holy verse to call upon his otherworldly master. The energy coalesces into a strange, web-like substance, which he holds aloft. He drapes the crimson web over Yingche, completing the final step of the ritual. Beneath the bag, Yingche's eyes suddenly flare with a brilliant golden light. The ritual culminates in the summoning of a C+ rank 2-winged angel, ready to descend upon the world. The summoned angel descends in a blaze of divine light, its presence captivating the entire audience. The cult's followers are stunned into silence, their belief in gods finally validated by the impossible sight. The masked leader explains that the sacrifice's life force is the key to anchoring the god to their world. The disgraced official, Han Sanjin, inquires about the ritual's flexibility, learning any god can be summoned. Han Sanjin secretly plots to summon Poseidon himself, hoping to negotiate peace and steal Yingche's glory. The divine being raises its blade, preparing to claim the life of the sacrifice and complete its descent. But as the angel strikes, the crimson bindings around Yingche shatter in a burst of raw power. His martial god blade flies through the air, effortlessly parrying the divine being's attack. The blade returns to his hand as he stands, the ritual's tattered remnants falling away from him. He calmly removes the bag from his head, utterly unimpressed by the C-rank angel he's been pitted against. With a firm grip on his sword, the warrior prepares to end this farce. He faces the towering angel, declaring that the real show is about to begin. The disgraced official recognizes his nemesis and orders a hasty retreat, not yet ready to reveal his hand. Meanwhile, Mo Xiaoxiao tracks his location on her phone, racing to provide backup. She pedals furiously through the city streets with his sister in tow, closing in on the signal. The Mohist master is bewildered by a sudden message about gods, narrowly missing the fleeing official's car. Back in the fight, Yingche leaps into the air, unleashing a legendary god-slaying technique. His blade, wreathed in golden fire, connects with the divine being in a devastating arc. The angel is completely engulfed in the fiery aftermath of his overwhelming attack. In a single blinding flash, the battle comes to an abrupt and shocking conclusion. With glowing golden eyes, he scoffs at the pathetic display of divine power. He stands over the ruined stage, informing the horrified cultists that their god has been slain. A confident smirk spreads across his face as he declares that they are his next targets. The masked leader clenches his fist, his body trembling with uncontrollable rage. He transforms into a monstrous winged creature, furious that his god was desecrated. With multiple glowing eyes, the transformed cultist vows to end the young warrior's life. The creature summons a colossal spear of pure energy, preparing to strike Yingche down. It hurls the massive projectile, unleashing the full force of its angelic power. But just before impact, the tip of the spear shatters into countless pieces. Yingche stands unfazed, having effortlessly sliced the powerful attack in two with a single swing. Mo Xiaoxiao skids to a halt, his sister holding on as they finally arrive at the scene. They find Yingche casually carrying the defeated, monstrous cult leader over his shoulder. His sister cries out in relief, overjoyed to see her brother is safe and sound. He turns in surprise, questioning why they've followed him to such a dangerous location. The warrior asks for help, explaining that military transport is on its way to collect his captive. Later, the abandoned opera house is swarming with police, who have cordoned off the entire area. A crowd of onlookers speculates about the scene, with one person spotting something inside a cage. They stare in horror at the captured cult leader, now locked behind bars like a wild animal. The creature's hand grips the bars of its cell, its monstrous form now fully contained. The scene shifts to a heavily fortified military prison, the monster's new permanent home. The commander stares at the mutated cultist, questioning if these creatures were once human. Yingche confirms they were corrupted by divine energy, suspecting a hidden organization is still summoning gods. The commander hands over a case, telling the young warrior his work is far from over.
The case reveals its contents, the official insignia for the newly formed Godslayer army.
A new headquarters is established, marking the official start of their counteroffensive. On May 19th, the five masters become the first official members of this elite squad. Just 4 days later, the Godslayer army is formally established, its banner flying high. A new generation of soldiers swears an oath to defend their home and fight the divine invaders. An officer interrupts his thoughts, revealing they've found a lead on one of the legendary artifacts he's been searching for. Their destination is a remote mountain lake, a location that was once an ordinary tourist spot. An officer explains that after a landslide years ago, the lake's center became a place of great misfortune. A local guide adds to the legend, claiming the lake is cursed and haunted by a chilling, mysterious song. He reveals that the curse, far from scaring people away, has turned the lake into a popular tourist attraction. After hearing the grim tales, Yingche is understandably skeptical when the guide urges him to board a boat. The guide quickly backtracks, claiming he was only joking and assuring the warrior that the shores are perfectly safe. But a sinister grin reveals the guide's true intentions, wishing the young man a pleasant trip into danger. Undeterred, Yingche approaches the shoreline, where a lone ferryman waits to take him across the cursed waters. As he nears the water, his system confirms his suspicions, detecting a strong presence of divine and demonic energy. He deduces the so-called curse is actually the work of creatures corrupted by this otherworldly power. He recalls a prior warning from an officer about the numerous disappearances, but he remains resolute in his mission. He recalls the officer's earlier warning, where she insisted on arranging a guide for his safety. Standing by the shore, he's certain this is the right place, a location he remembers from his past life. He recalls the legends from his past life, which spoke of bizarre aquatic creatures infesting the lake. The ferryman's pole disturbs the deceptively calm surface of the cursed water. In that timeline, a young hero had cleared the monsters, discovered a great treasure, and became a formidable local power. Now on the water, he resolves to find a divine weapon for his sister, willing to risk everything to get it. His attempt to contact the assigned guide fails, forcing him to begin the investigation on his own. Meanwhile, two locals take a smoke break, watching the young warrior from a distance. One man scoffs at another fool tempting the curse, claiming every boat that ventures into the lake inevitably sinks. His companion dismisses the tale as old news, lighting his cigarette and claiming no one sails to the center anymore. The local explains that lifeguards now patrol the area, making it safe as long as no one ventures near the cursed center. His casual demeanor shatters as he spots Yingche's boat, heading directly for the most dangerous part of the lake. The warrior calmly checks his phone, unaware that his strange creature companion is growing increasingly agitated. He realizes his pet is hungry, having completely run out of the magic crystals it feeds on. Suddenly, the water erupts into a frenzy as a mysterious, enchanting song fills the air. He recognizes the legendary cursed melody, questioning why the boat is now being pulled towards the lake's center. A massive whirlpool forms beneath them as the silent ferryman guides the boat straight into the vortex. Leaping onto the oar with perfect balance, Yingche demands to know where his mysterious guide is taking him. The ferryman's disguise is thrown aside, revealing the true and far more dangerous identity of his captor. His guide is revealed to be Zhou Luoxi of the Ishan sect, who attacks with deadly projectiles and a chilling promise. Yingche's blade flashes, expertly deflecting the volley of sharp projectiles. As their boat is pulled deeper into the vortex, monstrous hands begin clawing their way aboard. The system identifies the source of the song, an F-rank merfolk leader orchestrating the assault. A blonde warrior realizes the boat is too small for a proper fight and decides to feign weakness. He clutches his head in agony as the merfolk's hypnotic song overwhelms his senses. His consciousness fades, and he collapses, seemingly defeated by the enchanting melody. As a merman climbs aboard, Zhou Luoxi grabs the fallen warrior's leg, ready to offer him to the depths. Zhou Luoxi explains the merfolk's power, a hypnotic song that renders their victims helpless. He reveals their grim fate, explaining the creatures drag their prey underwater to transform them into more monsters. With a cruel grin, Zhou Luoxi mocks the warrior's weakness, declaring his intention to send him to his doom. But just as he moves to strike, his hand is suddenly stopped in its tracks. Yingche springs into action, effortlessly flipping his would-be captor into the air. The warrior reveals he was never affected, having caught the assassin's hidden blade with ease. To everyone's surprise, a merman intercepts the falling assassin, mistaking him for the intended prize. The assassin struggles furiously, trying to fight off his unexpected and very affectionate new admirer. The merfolk leader seems utterly smitten, much to the bewilderment of her flustered captive. She pulls him into a powerful embrace, her excitement overwhelming his attempts to escape. With his enemies distracted, Yingche draws his blade and begins clearing the boat of the other monsters. He calmly dispatches the aquatic creatures one by one, while the chaotic scene continues behind him. The system rewards his efficiency, confirming his progress to the first heaven is now at 50%. He realizes these weak monsters are a perfect source of attribute points, turning the cursed lake into his personal training ground. Meanwhile, the captive assassin pulls out a strange, high-tech pistol from a thigh holster. The unusual weapon begins to hum and glow, charging with an unknown energy. Trapped in the merfolk's embrace, the assassin fires his weapon wildly into the air in a desperate struggle. The merfolk leader winces but refuses to release her prize, her grip tightening around the flailing man. With her captive secured, the smitten monster dives back into the depths, dragging the assassin with her. From the safety of Yingche's hood, his small companion shrinks back, clearly unnerved by the bizarre scene. The warrior turns with a bewildered expression, momentarily stunned by his enemy's strange and sudden departure. Now alone on the boat, he watches the ripples in the water where his foes disappeared beneath the surface. The assassin suddenly resurfaces, a confident smirk on his face as he acknowledges Yingche's surprising skill. He demands to know the identity of his mysterious attacker. The assassin introduces himself as Zhou Luoxi, his assigned partner for this mission. Furious, Yingche grabs him, questioning why his supposed partner tried to kill him. Zhou Luoxi calmly explains it was a test of strength before suggesting they proceed with the mission. Their tense conversation is cut short as the merfolk leader suddenly resurfaces for revenge. The creature launches a deadly assault, forcing Yingche to shield his reckless new ally. A system notification confirms the merfolk leader has been slain, rewarding him with another attribute point. Zhou Luoxi stares in shock, unable to believe the monster ambushed them again and was defeated so quickly. Yingche delivers a chilling warning, promising a similar fate if he's ever tested again. The flustered assassin can only sweat nervously, thinking his new partner is incredibly petty. 20 minutes later, they make landfall, the first part of their journey complete. Zhou Luoxi, now in a female form, reveals their true objective is a divine altar connected to the lake via an underwater cave. While his partner prepares their diving gear, Yingche questions the motive for sharing such a valuable prize. The assassin admits that with Yingche's help, the odds of successfully retrieving the treasure are much higher. He confesses that attempting the dive alone would be a death sentence, making their partnership a necessity. The little creature companion seems less than thrilled about the prospect of an underwater adventure. With the merfolk temporarily repelled, they dive into the depths, finding the waters eerily calm. With focused determination, he navigates the deep blue, pushing further into the unknown. They navigate through a vast, crystalline cavern, the path to the legendary Manhwa altar now clear. They finally surface inside a hidden grotto, having successfully reached the entrance to the sacred site. As his partner leaps ahead, Yingche takes in the sight of the ancient, weathered temple. From above, the full scale of the legendary Manhwa altar is revealed, a forgotten ruin surrounded by water. Zhou Luoxi wastes no time, immediately prying open a large, ornate chest filled with treasure. His partner is overcome with joy at the sight of gold, while Yingche looks on, completely unimpressed. The warrior realizes with disappointment that the chest holds only mundane riches, not the divine artifact he seeks. He refuses to help collect the gold, explaining that this isn't the prize he came for. Unbothered by his partner's disinterest, Zhou Luoxi happily secures the massive sack of treasure for himself. Just as Yingche warns they should leave, his senses flare, alerting him to an unseen presence. A mysterious, serpentine figure appears at the top of the temple stairs, watching them from the shadows. The system identifies the altar's guardian, a powerful, rank E humanoid serpent. Zhou Luoxi panics, realizing they've been caught and their treasure heist is a bust. The system identifies the guardian's weapon as the legendary Baeolian lantern, a dormant divine artifact. With a confident grin, Yingche recognizes the lantern as the very prize he came to claim. The serpent guardian unleashes its power, summoning a massive, swirling vortex of water. Even Yingche's creature companion looks unimpressed by the sudden elemental chaos. The creature watches as the watery vortex intensifies, now crackling with raw, untamed lightning. Both warriors are helplessly sucked into the air, caught in the guardian's powerful aquatic storm. Zhou Luoxi flails in midair, infuriated that he can't reach the floating serpent monster. He then points out their more immediate problem, the long, dangerous fall back to the water. Helpless against gravity, the two partners plummet towards the churning waves below. Just before they hit the water, a massive white shape streaks through the air to intercept them. His tiny creature companion has suddenly grown to a colossal size, saving them from the fall. Yingche is stunned to see his pet has not only grown, but can also fly, while his other companion looks worse for wear. He balances on the creature's back, wondering what kind of being it is as it soars above the chaotic waves. The smaller creature is left dizzy and disoriented from the sudden aerial rescue, but its confusion quickly turns to resolve, its eyes now wide with determination. Zhou Luoxi clutches his treasure, urging his partner to seize the opportunity and escape. Their escape is cut short as massive, shadowy tentacles erupt from the churning water below. The Serpent Guardian unleashes its true power, summoning a colossal kraken to drag them down. The giant creature is ensnared by the tentacles, its flight brought to an abrupt and terrifying halt. Yingche's blade flashes, effortlessly severing the massive tentacles that grip his companion. He orders his creature to fly his partner to safety while he handles the deep-sea monstrosity. Without a moment's hesitation, he leaps from the creature's back, plunging towards the waves. Zhou Luoxi can only watch in disbelief as the warrior dives headfirst into the heart of the storm. Surrounded by a writhing mass of tentacles, he becomes a whirlwind of steel, carving a path through the beast. Even as a tentacle coils around him, his expression remains cold and focused on the fight. His creature obeys, carrying the treasure hunter to safety as Ying-che disappears beneath the surface. Back on shore, Zhou Luoxi watches the distant battle as his colossal ride shrinks back to its pocket-sized form. The water erupts as the kraken slams a coiled appendage down with devastating force. Deep below, the true form of the Guardian is revealed, a colossal squid-like beast clutching the glowing lantern. The system identifies another F-rank monster, the King Namu tree, lurking in the depths. Its serene mass cracks open, revealing 4 glowing green eyes filled with malice. The full creature is revealed, a massive tentacled tree monster watching him from the abyss. Unfazed, Ying-che unleashes a powerful blade breaker technique, sending a golden slash through the water. He becomes a blur of motion, carving the colossal tree monster into pieces with a flurry of strikes. The system confirms the kill, rewarding him with an attribute point and absorbing the creature's energy to boost his progress. As he swims deeper, he's startled by an unusual sight in the murky water. He spots a dazed turtle and monkey, still reeling from the effects of the earlier vortex. A wicked grin spreads across his face, realizing this is a golden opportunity to farm more power. He grips his blade, preparing to unleash his devastating martial god slash on the unsuspecting creatures. He unleashes a swift attack, golden energy engulfing the dazed sea creatures. System notifications confirm his kills, boosting his progress and awarding attribute points. He resurfaces, taking a breath as he assesses the situation. His creature companion calls out to him, concerned for his safety. He grabs onto the creature, using it as a platform in the turbulent water. He commands the creature to charge towards the Serpent Guardian. The Serpent Guardian hisses, preparing to defend its territory. He unleashes a powerful martial god slash, aiming for the Guardian. A system message indicates his attack was ineffective against the Guardian's defenses. He commands the system to allocate all his points into strength, preparing for another attack. The system prompts for attribute point allocation, showing available points and current levels. With newfound strength, he unleashes a devastating attack on the Serpent Guardian. A system message confirms the Guardian's defeat, awarding attribute points. The system congratulates him on absorbing the Guardian's divine demonic energy. He directs his creature companion towards the floating Baeolian lantern. He reaches out, ready to claim the legendary artifact. He secures the lantern, celebrating the perfectly timed retrieval. He catches the falling crystals, remnants of the destroyed Guardian's weapon. He examines the shattered crystals, lamenting the loss of valuable resources. The system detects damage to the lantern and begins repairs using the crystal fragments. The Baeolian lantern, now repaired and transformed into a bracelet, rests in his hand. He expresses his shock and disbelief at the lantern's new, compact form. The system announces he's unlocked the first heaven, Zhongtian, of the 9 heavens realm. He stands atop his enlarged companion, amidst swirling energies and a dramatic backdrop. He senses an approaching presence and urgently tells the system to close the gate. Zhou Luoxi is confronted by an angry figure about steering the boat to the lake's center. The figure berates Zhou Luoxi for endangering a passenger and demands a rescue attempt. Ying-che appears, startling the figure who mistakes him for a supernatural being. Ying-che explains his presence, revealing he asked Zhou Luoxi to take him to the lake's center. The figure expresses relief that nothing serious happened and worries about his job security. The guide uses the strange weather as an excuse to suspend operations and get them out of there. Zhou Luoxi anxiously asks about the lamp, only for Ying-che to casually reveal it was destroyed. The treasure hunter is left speechless, horrified that their legendary prize is gone. With a confident smirk, Ying-che reveals the lantern's new bracelet form, claiming it's an upgrade. He extends an invitation to join his team, but his partner insists on being called Evil Sis. The nickname triggers a memory, making him wonder if he's met the legendary fortune maker from his past. She nonchalantly reveals that she already turned down an offer from the Supreme Commander. Boarding the boat, she admits her only ambition is collecting treasure, not serving the military. He internally notes that wealth won't save her from the coming war, but recalls her future power and dismisses his concern. The scene transitions away from the cursed lake, returning to the peaceful, sunlit streets of the city. He presents his sister with a sparkling, snake-shaped bracelet, the promised divine weapon. She stares in wide-eyed wonder, barely believing the beautiful gift is truly for her. Kneeling before her, he makes a solemn request, emphasizing the importance of the gift. As he fastens the artifact to her wrist, he doubts she understands the gravity of his instructions. The system confirms a successful bond, and he explains the bracelet is more than just jewelry, it's a weapon. He reveals its true purpose, a powerful guardian that will activate with a simple mental command. She struggles to recall the command, her expression a mix of confusion and concentration. A powerful purple shield suddenly erupts around them, demonstrating the artifact's defensive capabilities. His creature companion transforms into a massive floating guardian, hovering over the protective barrier. With the shield deactivated, he reveals the artifact's offensive power, which can be unleashed with another thought. The small creature collapses, seemingly exhausted from its sudden growth spurt. The now giant creature launches itself at the serpent guardian, ready to protect its master. The creature charges towards the guardian, urged on by Yingche's commands. Back on shore, Yingche calls someone, reporting his successful return from the lake. He explains his success, mentioning the guide's assistance and his plans for seclusion. The officer on the other end expresses surprise at his decision to isolate himself. Two other team members discuss the situation, preparing to intensify their own training. One reassures the other, promising to work harder in Yingche's absence. Yingche calls another team member, rallying them to double their training efforts. The team member reacts with shock and perhaps a bit of dread at the increased workload. Someone ends a phone call, their grip tight on the device. Two individuals react strongly to the call's abrupt end. The system confirms unlocking the first heaven after the serpent battle. The warrior realizes time is short and he needs to grow stronger. With only a month left, the urgency of the situation is clear. A bound and gagged figure lies in a dimly lit room. Masked figures present a simple task: meet the sea god. The task was prearranged, and the masked figures remind him of a promise. The promise involves control over Jiangzhou if the plan succeeds. The captive questions the scope of the reward, seemingly wanting more. The disgraced official impatiently states that any further rewards will depend on their performance. The cloaked figures calmly reassure him, promising to uphold their end of the bargain. A cultist begins the ritual, drawing blood with a sharp object and calling upon the sea god Poseidon. The masked figure continues the incantation, their hand glowing as they praise the god's immense power. The terrified official is bound and gagged, becoming the focal point of the swirling crimson energy. Meanwhile, armed guards stand watch outside a secure room where the dark ceremony is taking place. The scene cuts to a peaceful apartment building, a stark contrast to the sinister ritual unfolding elsewhere. Yingche prepares to leave, having ensured his sister is safe at school with her new guardian bracelet. With a determined grin, he announces his plan to dedicate the next few days to intensive training in the system. A system prompt appears and he eagerly accepts the invitation to enter the first sky. He enters a strange, fiery realm within the system. Armored figures clash in a fierce battle. He walks through the desolate landscape. He observes his surroundings, seemingly unfazed. A powerful gust of wind sweeps through the area. He notices something is amiss. He questions the nature of the mysterious remnants. A system message explains the remnants' origins. He plants his foot firmly on the ground. He unleashes a burst of energy, ready to fight. He reacts to a surge of energy, his eyes glowing brightly. The energy intensifies, overwhelming his senses. Shadowy figures clash in a flurry of motion and red streaks. He struggles against the overwhelming power, his eyes fixed in concentration. He unleashes a counterattack, a red energy emanating from his hand. He prepares a new technique, his hand glowing with power. His blade crackles with fiery energy. He unleashes the technique, his body surrounded by swirling energy. A powerful explosion erupts, engulfing the area in fiery light. He stands amidst the aftermath, seemingly unfazed by the blast. He examines a mysterious red ribbon, questioning its nature. He holds the ribbon, learning it grants the power of an Eastern deity. The system identifies the ribbon as the Hun Tianling, a source of divine power. He decides to unseal the ribbon's power, intrigued by its potential. He releases the ribbon, unleashing its contained energy. His eyes glow with newfound power as the ribbon's energy surges through him. His hair transforms, blazing with fiery energy. He absorbs the deity's power, preparing for combat training. He marvels at the immense power now flowing through him. He faces spectral warriors, ready to test his newfound abilities. He realizes this new war illusion is an infinite escalating challenge. With glowing eyes, he focuses intently on the endless wave of enemies. A system notification confirms he's earned an attribute point for defeating a heavenly soldier. The system warns him that while the enemies are projections, the pain and damage are very real. Surrounded by spectral warriors, he prepares for a relentless onslaught. A heavy spiked mace crashes down, narrowly missing its target. He gracefully evades another attack, the divine ribbon swirling around him. A confident smirk reveals he's finding this high-stakes training exhilarating. He channels the ribbon's infinite power into his hand, preparing a counteroffensive. A massive explosion erupts from his attack, obliterating the spectral weapons. Another heavenly soldier falls, granting another attribute point. His blade ignites, ready for the next clash. A powerful figure acknowledges his skill, eager for a true fight. He faces a surprising opponent, questioning their identity. He expresses his disbelief at the opponent's unexpected appearance. A female warrior appears, challenging his expectations. The system identifies the warrior as Neja, a powerful deity. The system explains the variations in perceived appearances. He expresses his frustration at the unexpected form of his opponent. He summons a fiery ring, preparing for battle. He prepares a fiery attack, channeling energy through his fingers. He dashes forward, leaving a trail of energy in his wake. He's sent flying, complaining about the unfairness of the fight. The system explains the key to mastering the divine power. He's frustrated by the sheer strength of his opponent. He glares with fierce determination, ready to overcome the challenge. He's knocked down, observed by a powerful figure. The system reminds him of the realities of divine war. The powerful figure pursues him relentlessly. He faces a new wave of spectral warriors ready to defend himself. Desperate for an edge, he commands his small companion to transform. The creature morphs into a massive battle mount, allowing him to carve through the endless army. The scene cuts back to the real world, showing a peaceful apartment building. Yingche collapses onto his floor, utterly spent from the intense training session. Battered and bruised, he realizes what felt like 3 days has passed and worries about his sister. He checks his stats, pleased with his progress, but acknowledging he's still no match for a real deity. A glance at his phone reveals the shocking truth. His 3-day ordeal lasted only 15 minutes. The system explains the incredible time dilation within the training realm, where a year passes in a single day. He grins with excitement, realizing this secret training ground is the key to surpassing his former power. With renewed determination, he eagerly accepts the prompt to dive back into the first heaven for another round. Back in the real world, the cultist's dark ritual reaches its climax as crimson energy surges. The disgraced official's hands are bound tightly, his fate sealed as the sacrifice. With a bag over his head, the helpless official is offered up to summon a new god. The ritual succeeds, manifesting the colossal glowing form of the rank BC god Poseidon. The divine being's ethereal face forms, its glowing eyes fixing on the mortals below. The official greets the sea god, boldly stating he's aware of the deity's invasion plans. Poseidon's eye narrows in suspicion, wondering how these insignificant beings uncovered his scheme. The official bluffs about having a prophet, prompting the god to question if this is a declaration of war. He quickly clarifies his position, offering to negotiate peace and surrender to any of the god's demands. The sea god's form dissolves into mocking laughter, utterly disgusted by humanity's weakness. The sea god reveals his impatience, declaring he can no longer wait to start the war. He expresses absolute certainty in the god's inevitable victory. The desperate official offers endless tributes, willing to give up anything to stop the invasion. Poseidon scoffs at the pathetic offer, explaining their god-king desires the entire planet. He mocks their foolishness, explaining the ritual has revealed Earth's location and weakness to all the gods. But the sea god has a change of heart, deciding to keep this discovery to himself for now. He recognizes this as a golden opportunity he refuses to let slip through his fingers. The sea god summons his trident, declaring his intent to be the first deity to conquer Earth. His trident unleashes a blinding beam of divine energy towards the mortals. The energy blast strikes the cultist, using the terrified official as a living conduit for the attack. The official cries out in pain as divine energy surges through him. A nearby cultist recoils in horror at the unfolding events. Another cultist flees, desperate to escape the chaotic scene. A shadowy tentacle slithers across the floor, adding to the unsettling atmosphere. A guard bursts into the room, alerted by the commotion. The guard is quickly overwhelmed by the spreading chaos. The ritual site is now a scene of carnage and destruction. In the divine realm, a report is given to a powerful figure. A lower-ranked sea god receives instructions. The sea god is urged to act swiftly. Poseidon gloats, claiming Earth will soon be his. A weapon is deemed useless against a powerful foe. A red orb pulses ominously, hinting at impending danger. A monstrous creature wreaks havoc, defying conventional weaponry. A guard runs out of ammunition, facing a dire situation. Bullets ricochet harmlessly off the creature's tough hide. A guard is caught in a precarious position, struggling against the creature. Someone prepares a counteroffensive, activating a complex mechanism. A warrior arrives, questioning the chaotic scene unfolding before them. The warrior is shocked by the creature's presence within the base. A monstrous tentacle slams down, revealing the terrifying scale of the new threat. But the warrior stands her ground, unimpressed by the colossal sea creature blocking her path. Elsewhere, a commander stares into his cup, the murky contents reflecting the grim situation. He questions how their secure base was infiltrated, but his subordinate suspects the danger is already inside. She confirms their worst fears, realizing the breach must have been an internal one. The commander immediately orders a full-scale search of the base, determined to root out the traitor. Meanwhile, a strange crimson rift appears in Yingche's otherwise ordinary dorm room. He collapses to the floor, completely drained after another grueling session in the training realm. A quick glance at the clock confirms the incredible time dilation. Hours of fighting were mere minutes. Realizing he's out of supplies, he decides to refuel before his next dive into the first heaven. A tiny figure floats in the air, a red ribbon trailing behind her. The small figure reacts to being called, "Hey!" A blonde warrior challenges the small figure to another fight. The warrior taunts the small figure, calling them weak. The small figure suggests the warrior is actually scared. The small figure goads the warrior, questioning their courage. The warrior accepts the challenge, promising not to hold back. The warrior is struck by a wave of water. The warrior questions the source of the sudden seawater. The small figure unleashes an attack, swirling water and ribbons. The warrior is sent flying by a powerful watery force. A torrent of water crashes down, creating a dramatic splash. A powerful female figure observes the battle, unimpressed. A large red boat sails peacefully on the water's surface. On the boat, a child points excitedly at something in the water. The child's companion warns them to be careful near the edge. The child recognizes something familiar in the distance. A streak of red appears in the sky, leaving a trail. A large dark shape moves just beneath the water's surface. The child on the boat reacts with fear to the approaching shape. The child stares in disbelief as a massive red tentacle erupts from the water beside him. His older brother rushes to help, but the boat is already being overrun by the sea monster's limbs. The man recoils in terror as a grotesque appendage suddenly sprouts from his own arm. The horrifying scene fades, revealing a ghostly image of a colossal sea beast and a divine chariot in the sky. Far out at sea, a military vessel's scope locks onto a massive, unknown life form churning the stormy waters. The colossal creature rises from the depths, its shadowy form dwarfing the ship amidst the lightning. The naval vessel is tossed helplessly in the violent waves, completely surrounded by the monster's writhing tentacles. A glowing blue tentacle coils around the ship, effortlessly lifting the entire vessel from the raging sea. The targeting system struggles to identify the creature, locking onto another part of its vast, amorphous body. The monster's grip tightens, crushing the warship as its defenses prove utterly useless against the divine beast. The scene shifts to a remote marine research station, where a new crisis is unfolding. Inside, operators panic as the signal from an unmanned vessel suddenly vanishes without a trace. The last data transmission reveals an unprecedented level of contamination, hinting at a colossal presence. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the station immediately escalates the report up the chain of command. Elsewhere, a warrior cleans her stained scythe, complaining about the lingering stench of the sea as her commander arrives. She reports that the alien sea creatures that infiltrated the base have finally been eliminated. The battle was costly, with heavy casualties due to their conventional weapons being completely ineffective. As the cleanup crew deals with the aftermath, the warrior Riley notes the entire base now smells like a fish market. The commander acknowledges their weaknesses, but reveals his true concern lies with suspicious surveillance footage from the day before. The footage reveals the gods' true ambition, not tribute, but the complete conquest of the entire planet. A sinister entity laments the wasted time searching for Earth. They gloat over the unexpected contact, revealing Earth's location and strength. They propose alerting their allies to unite and attack Earth. A wiser figure urges caution, sensing a golden opportunity. He worries revealing Earth's location might accelerate the sea god's arrival. Back on Earth, an urgent report interrupts a meeting. The report details strange activity detected by an unmanned vessel. The data retrieved is completely black, but energy fluctuations are detected. Enhanced imagery reveals a massive squid-like shape. The creature is identified as a supersized version of previously encountered monsters. The commander issues a high alert, ordering all fleets to immediately increase patrols across every sea. He seethes with rage, knowing a traitor's recklessness has exposed the entire planet to the enemy. Meanwhile, a civilian ship is torn asunder by colossal tentacles amidst a raging storm. A mysterious tentacled being appears, commanding her monstrous minions to capture the humans alive. A white-haired sea god watches as his grotesque followers overrun the vessel, rounding up the terrified survivors. This low-tier deity reveals his plan to gather human followers and hasten the arrival of his powerful king. A naval fleet finally arrives, surrounding a strange, half-submerged object in the turbulent water. An officer radios in an urgent report, realizing they're too late and their elusive target has already moved on. Command Center responds with a chilling warning, suggesting the threat has already reached their position. Acknowledging the new intelligence, the warships change course, racing to intercept the inbound danger. Captain Hu confirms the worst through his binoculars. The enemy has already arrived. His view reveals a vessel already under siege by colossal, writhing tentacles. A tentacled sea god holds a captive high above a terrified crowd, its minions swarming the area. The captured man struggles furiously, shouting defiance at his monstrous captor. He continues to taunt the deity, challenging it to face him on the ground. The sea god ignores the taunts, its attention drawn by a powerful scent it detects nearby. Its glowing eyes narrow as it pinpoints the distinct presence of a specific human. With a new target in mind, the creature propels itself through the water at incredible speed. The scene cuts to the heavily fortified East Sea base, seemingly secure from the chaos. But inside the command center, an urgent alarm sounds as a target rapidly closes in on their position. An officer urges the commander to issue orders as a threat approaches the East Sea coastline. The commander and a female officer agree the situation is critical and requires immediate action. The commander orders the 1st Unit and Godslayer troops to deploy a defensive line along the coast. The destroyer fleet receives authorization to take any necessary action to buy time. An officer confirms the order and initiates a Level 1 combat alert. A large red button is dramatically pressed, signaling the commencement of a critical operation. Personnel rush to their stations, preparing for the imminent confrontation. The destroyer's main cannon is locked and loaded, ready to engage the target. The target is locked, awaiting final fire authorization. The order to open fire is given, unleashing a barrage of projectiles towards the enemy. The naval barrage erupts in a massive explosion, striking the monstrous target head-on. But the smoke clears to reveal the colossal tentacles are completely unscathed by the direct hit. In the command center, an operator stares in horror, realizing their powerful cannons had no effect. The furious commander escalates the attack, ordering the immediate launch of torpedoes. A torpedo streaks from the destroyer's hull, a last-ditch effort against the divine beast. The underwater missile races through the churning sea, closing in on the colossal creature. A second, even more powerful explosion rocks the ocean, sending shockwaves through the water. Suddenly, a new threat appears on the radar, moving at impossible speeds as the crew scrambles to evade. A monstrous, whale-like creature breaches the surface, its sheer size dwarfing the entire warship. With no time to react, the crew can only watch as the beast opens its cavernous mouth to devour them. The commander makes a final, desperate call, ordering a full-scale barrage against the beast. The colossal, multi-eyed sea monster dwarfs the entire naval fleet in the churning waves. An operator cries out in horror as he watches the unfolding disaster, his captain likely lost. With a final act of defiance, a crew member decides to take the monster down with him. The fleet takes aim, preparing to unleash everything they have at the colossal leviathan. A sustained bombardment begins as cannons and missiles are fired in a desperate volley. The missiles close in on their target, a last hope against the overwhelming divine beast. The powerful explosives detonate harmlessly against the creature's impenetrable hide. A massive tentacle frames the scene, revealing the battle is being observed by another powerful entity. The sea god smirks from its perch, amused by the foolish and insignificant struggles of the humans. The sea god mocks humanity's feeble attempts at resistance. Back at base, the commander demands to know if Ying Che has arrived. He's informed that Ying Che is missing. The commander orders a citywide search for Ying Che. Inside the first heaven, Ying Che faces Neja. He uses a fiery ring demanding Neja's surrender. Neja refuses, unimpressed by the display. Ying Che questions Neja's tactics. He seems resigned but prepares for action. After a long struggle, Ying Che finally lands a blow. A powerful attack connects, and someone yells to stop. The system confirms Neja's defeat and awards attribute points. He notes he has 0 attribute points remaining. The system questions his lack of enthusiasm for upgrades. He explains he's reached the level cap for this realm. The system directs his attention to a small stone monkey. The system explains how to unlock the next realm. He questions the significance of the small monkey. He decides to show the monkey his true power. He extends his hand to the monkey. The stone monkey suddenly spits in his face, deeming him unworthy of its power. The force of the rejection sends him flying across his dorm room, smashing into the wall. He recovers amidst the debris, infuriated by the tiny creature's unexpected strength. With a vengeful grin, he commands the system to open the next gate so he can settle the score. His request is denied due to insufficient authority, pushing his frustration to the breaking point. Just then, an officer bursts through the door, having finally tracked him down. The scene cuts to the coastline, where military helicopters approach a sea turned crimson with an unnatural tide. A colossal tentacled beast rises from the depths, commanding a horde of monstrous sea creatures. A massive whale-like leviathan breaches the surface, leaping over the swarming army below. The giant beast slams down with devastating force, crashing into the city's coastal defenses. The city's defenses shatter as the colossal beast smashes through, clearing a path for the swarming horde. Military helicopters unleash a desperate barrage, ordered to hold the line against the overwhelming tide. Their bullets spark uselessly against the Leviathan's impenetrable hide, having no effect. The multi-eyed beast roars in defiance, completely unfazed by the military's assault. With another powerful slam, the creature sends chunks of the fortified wall flying through the air. Cracks spread across the massive structure as a soldier cries out in despair, realizing the wall is failing. The military continues its assault, but the beast relentlessly batters the weakening defenses. The wall finally gives way in a massive explosion of water and debris, throwing a helicopter off balance. A pilot urgently reports the breach, calling for reinforcements as the enemy floods through the opening. On the other side, an elite squad of Godslayers stands as the last line of defense against the monstrous invasion. A determined warrior prepares for a fight, confident in her training. She leaps into action, ready to unleash a powerful technique. Other soldiers charge into the fray, eager to join the battle. The warrior clashes with an unseen foe, her weapon flashing through the air. She faces a horde of monstrous figures, their glowing eyes fixed on her. The warrior cuts down several of the creatures, but more keep coming. She delivers a swift kick, sending an enemy flying. The warrior continues her relentless assault, taking down another foe. She realizes the enemies are endless, and a sense of dread washes over her. A large, heavy object crashes down, impacting the water with a splash. The warrior unleashes a powerful kick, sending enemies flying. A soldier expresses concern about the widening breach in the wall. A determined warrior takes charge, ordering others to hold their position. Two figures acknowledge the order, ready to defend their post. A figure charges forward with incredible speed. The warrior unleashes a devastating attack, impacting an enemy. Another enemy is struck down, the consequences of the attack evident. The warrior continues their relentless assault, cutting through more enemies. The warrior prepares a powerful technique, 1,000 form shift. A massive whale-like creature emerges from the water. The warrior unleashes her scythe of death with a dynamic pose. The scythe makes contact, resulting in a visually impactful moment. The impact sends shockwaves and debris flying, showing the attack's force. The warrior stands her ground, ready to face the remaining threats. A massive creature looms over the battlefield, dwarfing the surrounding figures. A horde of smaller creatures swarms the area, adding to the chaotic scene. A figure with distinct features observes the situation from above. The figure addresses the horde, questioning their lack of progress. The figure reminds them of their objective, urging them to move forward. The warrior intercepts one of the smaller creatures, her scythe poised for attack. A pale figure with glowing eyes appears, hinting at a powerful presence. A warrior unleashes a swirling blue attack called Abyssal Tentacle. The warrior executes a rapid multi-strike technique, 1,000 form shift. She fires a projectile from her weapon, adding to the chaotic barrage. The pale figure reacts to an unseen attack, a mark appearing on their form. The figure's anger intensifies, focused on the one who dared to strike them. The figure prepares to retaliate, promising a painful consequence for the injury. A powerful attack, Wrath of the Sea God, is unleashed with swirling energy. The warrior counters with a swift, impactful move, deflecting the attack. The warrior endures a powerful blow, the impact evident on her face. Menacing figures with glowing eyes crowd the scene, radiating an ominous aura. A warrior stands ready with her weapon, a whirlwind of motion surrounding her. A powerful kick sends enemies flying, showcasing impressive martial arts skills. A hand poised for a strike, energy swirling around it, hints at an impending attack. A powerful palm strike is unleashed, the force of the blow visible in the air. Demon-locking chains appear, adding a supernatural element to the conflict. The chains shatter, suggesting a powerful counterattack or a sudden release of energy. A warrior reacts to a surprising revelation, her expression a mix of shock and intrigue. Reinforcements arrive, securing the rear and bolstering the defensive line. The warrior rallies her allies, preparing to hold their position against the oncoming threat. A warrior smirks, clearly amused by the unfolding chaos. A pale figure looks down on the warriors, calling them insignificant. Monstrous figures charge forward, eager for battle. A warrior skillfully cuts down the monstrous figures. One warrior entrusts the rear defense to another. A figure confidently accepts the defensive task. A monk prays amidst the chaos. A warrior prepares a deadly strike against a pale figure. The warrior unleashes her scythe of death. Someone slices a watermelon with precision. The officer panics, trying to rush Ying Che, who is casually enjoying a slice of watermelon despite the impending crisis. Ying Che erupts in frustration at the delayed warning, while the exasperated officer insists he was never given a moment to explain.